don't you have to be like death penalty certified or something to do death penalty cases? So you're
Yes,
one
yes,
of
you
the
do.
attorneys?
There's a formula under Florida law. I am what's called penalty phase qualified, meaning I can represent folks in the penalty phase of death penalty trials. And so if they get convicted at trial, then the jury still has to determine whether the death penalty is appropriate in that case.
Okay.
We also currently represent a couple of folks who are back for resentencing. So they've already been sentenced to death, but the Supreme Court has ruled that their sentence was unconstitutional, and so I'm representing them on the resentencing part of that.
Okay. All right. So then that was one of the things that we were going to talk about. And since you brought it up, we could just start there. There's a particular order or formula on how we should speak. So you're on the defense side of all of this right now. And as state attorney, would you seek the death penalty in cases?
No. The death penalty is a medieval institution that should be thrown in the dustbins of history. It is advertised as being for the worst of the worst, but it's not about the worst of the worst. In fact, it has never been about the worst of the worst. It's about race, it's about poverty, and it's about mental illness. And it's dying across the country. Only 3% of counties in the United States right now still regularly seek the death penalty, and Broward County is one of those counties. It is extraordinarily more expensive than a life sentence would be, and it doesn't deter. All the research suggests that, in fact, homicide rates are a tick higher in states with the death penalty than in those without it. But beyond all that, to me, it's very much a moral issue. It's as Brian Stevenson says, the question for me is not whether somebody deserves to die, but whether we deserve to kill. And I am an imperfect person. My government is certainly an imperfect person. Is certainly imperfect. Florida leads the nation in death row exonerations at 29.
And Broward County leads the state, I believe.
Broward County leads the state at 11. And so there is just no redeeming quality to it anymore.
And I think in one of the instances, if I'm correct, is that one of the people that Broward County has sent to death row had since been exonerated, but death penalty had already been, he was already sentenced to death. He was already put to death, and they found out like through DNA evidence that he was in fact not guilty of the crime that he was charged with. And that's the thing, you can't come back from that. Like even if there was a mistake made, if the person's already put to death, there's no coming back.
Yeah, I think he died of natural, I know who you're talking about. I think he died of natural causes while he was on death row.
Exactly, that's right. That's what
but yeah.
To me. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, he ended up, losing his life and not getting out of jail. And, he could have, spent some of that time with his family. But you're right. That's exactly right. He did die. I think he had cancer or something to that effect, right? All right. So you're not going to seek the death penalty at all, no matter how egregious the case is?
So to me, correct. The death penalty, like you say, there is no coming back from it. And it doesn't give victims any justice. These cases drag on for decades. I read a study a couple years ago where they asked a bunch of victims' families after the person had been executed how they felt. And the number one answer was, I'm just glad it's over. Because these families are just dragged through appeal after appeal. They have to go through hearing after hearing and testify over and over again. Whereas if we just get them a life sentence, at the front end, it's over. And the person that committed the crime dies alone in their cell many, many years from then with a whisper instead of with a bang.